Hi, my name is Jason Rascom, and this is something I've been wanting to do for a while now. I'm wanting to build a computer from scratch, something I haven't done in about 10 years, and I'm going to show you what you need to know and how you do it. So here I have all the parts that we'll be needing, and I'll explain to you what the parts are going to be doing, what you need to look for, and how to properly install them to make a working computer. When building a computer, first thing you want to find out is what do you want to use that computer for? Because what you want to use it for is going to differentiate what you want to buy for it. Now, a gamer, you're going to want, of course, a faster processor, a good amount of memory, and an outrageous video card in order to run a good game. People who are doing your basic spreadsheets, Word documents, a bit of internet exploring, you're not going to need such a great video card. Might need some decent amount of memory, and your processor isn't going to be determined so much on speed as possibly the cores. Nowadays, though, games are working better with multiple cores also, but I am a big fan of my Alt-Tab on my keyboard, which those of you that don't know keyboard shortcuts, it allows you to switch between different applications you have going on your computer. So since I like all the applications running on my computer and filling my screen up, I went with a 6-core. It was the same price as quad-core, but the gigahertz are a little bit slower than the quad, but with having the 6-core, I'm hoping to be able to take advantage of that with running all my applications. But basically this is a CPU or central processing unit, and it will basically be the brains of your whole system. Again, depending upon what you want will depend upon what kind you want to get. But once you figure out what kind of processor you want, you can do research to figure out, okay, what's a good gaming processor, what's a good multitasking processor, things like that, to figure out what you want. But once you do figure out what kind of CPU you want, it's easier then to figure out what kind of a motherboard you want. Your motherboard basically will supply all the circuitry needed to let your CPU correspond with your video cards, your memory sticks, and everything to hook up and run properly. You want to pay attention to what kind of processor will run on a different motherboard. This one here runs the Socket AM3 Plus processors, which is the kind I got, so that is why I chose this particular one. I went on also and figured out, they'll tell you how much memory they support, what kind of slots they have. There's the PCI slots, the PC16 slot. I ended up getting the motherboard for the different types of slots it has available and the fact that it can run the processor I have chosen. Other than that, next you're going to want to look at your RAM, or random access memory, commonly referred to as memory. Here I have 2 4-gig sticks. It should be fine for what I am looking to do, but if I need to increase it, it's a pretty cheap fix or upgrade, and you can run on my motherboard. I can run 4 sticks at, it was 8 gigs a stick, so if I really need more, I can definitely upgrade, and again, it's a cheaper way to do an upgrade, so start out a little smaller and work your way up. One thing that I see people confusing a lot is between memory and storage. Your memory will be used as the computer is running, the applications are being processed. It's going through the memory in order to run it. You want enough memory to run all your applications, but your storage basically holds your files. It's where everything is stored and kept on your computer. Any installs you do, games and programs and whatnot are all put in on your storage. Now, those usually referred to as a hard drive. This one in particular is a solid state drive. It's a newer thing that's come out for storage devices. I have wanted to try it out, so I went ahead and got one. It's only 120 gig, but again, for what I want, it should be fine. And then my old computer I'm planning on turning into the storage tower anyway, so this should be more than enough for what I am looking for. Now here we have the video card. My motherboard does not come with a video chip on it, so I needed to get a video card in order to have anything displayed on my monitor. This is a decent one. It's a lot better than the one I currently am running. If you're a gamer, you're definitely going to want to be getting something better than this. For me, I had a lesser video card and ran World of Warcraft when I played, and it was alright. Not great, but it did a decent job. But since I'm not gaming and I'm just doing applications now, this should be more than enough for what I'm looking to do with it. Next, you want to get the proper power supply. Now, there's different sites out there that tell you what you need as far as wattage in order to run your processor, your video cards, and be able to have your cooling fans and everything running on your computer. I went to one and it said I needed about 350 for just a few things I have going on. But if I want to expand, add some different peripherals to it, webcam, things like that, they're going to need a little bit more power, so I went with 450 just so that way I have room to add different peripherals to my computer if I want. After picking out all those, the last thing you're going to need is going to be your case or tower. This, I really don't feel there's too much for specifics on towers. You have vented towers, just standard ones. Different ones have different cooling mechanisms or allow for different cooling systems to be put on. So if you're a gamer and you're running high video card and stuff, or if you're overclocking your CPU and stuff, you might want to go with a tower that has better cooling capabilities. And other than that, that's everything you're going to need and a brief description on what it does. Alright, so I've taken everything out of the package just so you didn't have to, witness all that, but it does create a bit of a mess. Here we have our tower, otherwise known as the case. This is where everything's going to be. It's pretty easy, just take screws out. There's usually 2 decent screws in there. Pull on it. And there's the inside. Now I'm going to just show you what everything looks like here again. Here's just the sticks of memory. This here is the solid state drive. I like to keep everything in the packaging until I'm ready to actually do the install, just for cleanliness and stuff, make sure no dust gets on it. Along with the solid state drive came a mounting bracket. Mount the drive onto here, and then this bracket will mount into the tower to be held in position. One thing I completely forgot about when I got the processor was there's like a grease that they put on it to connect your heat sink and fan to it, but luckily they actually had some on there from the manufacturer, so that should suffice in making a good connection. And then here is the video card. And then here's the power cord that comes with the power supply. Now most of these pieces end up coming with their cords and mounting bolts, but you can easily buy extra cords and bolts if needs be. Now here we have the motherboard. Inside this box there is a plate here that you mount onto the case. Of course you got your manuals and drives for it. And then the motherboard itself. Alright, so to put your computer together, really the only tool you should need is a screwdriver. I got two different sizes here, just because you got a few varying pieces. Like for the power supply you got a bit bigger screws, but to actually put the motherboard to the case it's a little smaller, and then with a smaller screwdriver like this you're not going to be able to really crank on it too much, because if you tighten down too much you're going to end up snapping it, so you want to be careful of that. But the first thing we're going to do is put the power supply in. And that you got two holes here that are closer together and then two spread apart and offset, and those will face up with the holes on your case then. Alright, and again the power supply came with its own screws in a nice little bag here. Now you want to make sure that the power supply is tight, but again, you don't want to over tighten. Now you can get, with this power supply, you can get what they call a dampener, which basically it's a gasket that goes around with it. Helps to cushion it so it doesn't vibrate so much. Alright, so power supply's in, it's nice and sturdy. Now we're going to have to lay the case down like so. Alright. So now the motherboard's going to go in. Alright, now on the motherboard you got all your parts here that you can plug in and stuff. They're going to go to the back of the case, so you want to be able to line that all up. You're going to be able to see you got a hole there, another one over there. These things are set up that they have be able to put different motherboards into them. So take this out, you can see all the different holes in there, just so you can get different motherboards set into it. So the trick of it is set it up in here and then search for what holes you're going to line up. Like here on the motherboard, that hole won't line up, but this hole will. That one does. That one should. Looks like it. This one does. And then that one does. Alright, so once you figure out what holes you're going to be putting your motherboard onto, get this little screw here that comes with your case. I got quite a few of them, but I got 6 spots that I put the screws into. And then we'll go ahead and put the motherboard in there. This nice little cover plate. Slide it out. Now you just pop this into place here. And then now if you look in the screw, the slot right there, you can see there's a gold color. That means my holes are lined up. So now I can go ahead and screw it in. Alright, now you can see the tower is standing upright again. We got the motherboard in there, we got the power supply in there. You can see on the back of the panel here, we got the faceplate here. Next, we're gonna put in the CPU, memory, and the video card. CPUs are always well protected. Just want to make sure there's no nicks, scrapes, or anything in there. Now, there's a lever here where the CPU goes. I'm going to lift that lever up to unlock it. Now, on the CPU, you can see you got some spaces here and an arrow. Now, if you look at the motherboard itself, you'll see those same spaces there. So we got the CPU going in like this. Not sure how well you can actually see it, but up in the corner there, there's a little arrow. There we go. And then again the markers for where the spaces are going to be on the CPU. Very carefully you want to slide that in. It will just drop in there, and once it drops in, slowly just lightly push your lever down, lock it in place. Now your CPU is locked in place. Next going to be cooling, heatsink and fan for on that CPU. Without it, it's going to fry up and be of no use to you. Now, the heatsink is held in by different mechanisms here. Different manufacturers do them different ways, but this one, it's just going to be a lever. You see it lower the piece down, so that'd be to put it on, and then when you get it clipped in, pull it up and it'll lock it in place. Of course, it's going to be easiest to do this with the case laying down again. So I would put in the processor in, but I wanted to be able to show you exactly what I was doing.
Alright, I put the heat sink on. You can see down here you got the little clip that it attaches to. One thing you want to make sure of is your plug here. Where's it going to plug into? Right there, that white tab, that's where your fan's going to be plugging into. And it is even labeled on the top there, CPU fan. Now you want to make sure that you got your pieces clamped down there, and then go ahead and there we go. Heat sink is now attached to the CPU. We can plug in the fan. Try not to ever force anything. Just double check your alignment, make sure everything's on properly. This lock for the CPU fan actually took a bit of force, but it seems to be secure and in proper positions, so I'm not too worried about that at all. Alright, we'll end up standing the tower back up. Alright, next we're just gonna go ahead and throw the memory in. These here are your memory slots. The one closest to the CPU is the one you want the highest memory stick in. So if one was a 8 gig and one was a 4, I'd want the 8 gig closest to the CPU. Now these tabs here, push the tabs out, and then you want to look at your memory stick. You'll see you'll have a shorter part here and a longer part here. So then you want to look on your slots here. The shorter part goes on top. So make sure you got that lined up properly. And then you just slide it in, giving support to the back, and they will, when you push it in, it'll pull these clips in to lock it in place. If it doesn't pull it in place to lock it in, you got something wrong. Then again, look, make sure the shorter one's on top. Put it in the slot. Alright, then you want to just make sure those tabs are pushed all the way up. They're looking good. There, memory's installed. Nice and easy. Next we got our video card. Now this has the motherboard. We got PCI slots here and here. We got PCI Express slots. And then we got the PCI Express 16 slots. This is a 16, which is this one right here. It's got different tab on it. Now what we got to do here is line up. We're going with the second slot down. Take the screw out of this here, and this piece just slides right out, and that will allow for the card to slide in. Now you want to have the card in the slot watching up here. Again, little force. Try not to push too much so you don't crack your motherboard, but it'll snap right in place. And then once it's in, the screw you took out, put back in, holding this in place. Alright, so now we got the CD-ROM and the hard drive, or in this case a solid state drive. That's all we got to do to finish doing our install for building the computer. So let's get to that. Now, depending upon what kind of case you get is going to depend upon how your drives are put into the case here. This one's pretty nice. It has just a quick clip. Turn it, pull it out. You got your screws or slots for screws on here, so you can either be putting it in and screwing it in. Some cases you put the screws in and then you slide it in and it locks in place. This one's kind of nice. Just slide it in here. Make sure the cords are out of the way. Line up the holes. Alright, now this one, just lock this down. The drive's locked in place. This case also has a nice face that just pops right off. Some of them you actually have to push on a tab or unscrew things. Now the thing with this one is there's also a docking bay on the top to put a hard drive in. So I'm not sure how this is going to actually slide in here, and it's not. So we're going to go ahead and pop this off. This particular case has a piece you just pop off. Some of them, they have them where they're like tabs that you can just pull out and put back in. Alright, now on our face plate here, wow, there we go. So now these just pop in and out, are able to lock in place. There we go. CD's in place. It's not moving, so that's good. Alright. Now they're all in. Only the next step left is to actually give them power. Now, here we got our SATA cords. Go ahead and plug those into the motherboard. That's another thing you're going to want to look at is go over your manual for your motherboard. It'll show you what needs to be hooked up, where things get hooked up, like your power switch on the front of the tower gets hooked up on your motherboard, and I'll show you a bit of that, but make sure you check on the manual that comes with your motherboard to make sure you're getting it done right. Alright, there's the data cable. Now here's the power cable. You can see on the cable itself, how clearly you can see this, but you'll see there's a slot that goes all the way up and then comes down like a little L right here. That's your SATA cable. Again, you don't want to have to force anything. If it isn't going, try a different way. Make sure your plugs are tight once you do get them in. Alright, so the CD-ROM is in. We got the data cable and the power cable hooked up to it. Right now cables are going to be all over and a bit of a mess, but we'll be able to clean those up later on. Alright, here we got another cable that we're going to use to hook up to our actual storage device. Plug the data cord in there, and then of course the power. Alright, that's all hooked up there now. Now we got power to the motherboard itself. This big gaudy cord here, that's going to be plugging into your motherboard right back in here. And again, always check your manual to make sure you're doing that right. Alright, we got that one, and then on this we also got another cord here. This is just a little 4-prong. That gets hooked up right back there. So then all we got left is hooking up our power button. Now on here, these cables are already hooked up and everything. Right here we got power switch, reset switch, the power LED. Basically these are gonna go down on right here. It's called the F panel. But again, you're going to want to check your manual for your motherboard to make sure you're hooking them up to the right places. Other than that, everything's hooked up. All you'll want to do is take these cords, tuck them out of the way. This setup actually came with little zip ties here, so I can actually bundle them, lock them all in place so they don't interfere with a fan or touch any other connections. But other than that, it's all done. The only thing left to do then is going to be put the case back on and install your operating system and hook it up to your monitor, keyboard, all that other good stuff. So I hope this helped out, and good luck with your build.